don't need to turn on for attendance.
Why don't you wait till the last 5 minutes so we can get started and watch that thing?
Okay.
So if you put it up right, you can see it.
Remote to turn the
Should be right on the keyboard.
This one doesn't. You're like, I don't know. Come here. Say no. Say no. You have one to try.
How'd compost go? Hey, conjugate. Conjugate.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Glad to Mr. Beus to be here again today. Miss Oy will be with you tomorrow. She's hanging out today, so that's who that is. She's also a student at the University of Idaho. It's kind of coming in. That's me. But this is my youngest. Her name is Alta. It's a great grandmother's name, but we gave her the middle name of Michelle in case she wanted to use that later on down the road. Anybody know someone that goes by their middle name? Fairly common. We gave her a built-in Al, so she could be called Michelle rather than. But I love the name Alta. So she's a good picture of her. And this is in Kodiak, so you can kind of see this is Spruce Island here. So we're on the top of the hill looking down. Kodiak's down here. It's pretty foggy. Can't see it. But those are all islands, and they just seem to go on forever. It's a really cool place. Then that is Emma, my second oldest, and that is Kale. And I chose this picture because it's a really good picture of Alta, and the next picture is a better one of these two. Alta's actually right there, but you can see her. So that's my wife, Kaylin, and this is the American River in Kodiak. And a quick story. So my wife and I were walking on this bank, and right about here, the water wasn't as high, so that water wasn't there. It was just gravel still. When we came around, and those bushes are right here, and as we came around those bushes, we were trying to find some. When you're fishing for kings, you're looking for holes or deep spots in the river. We were looking for some up there, and as soon as we got around that bush, all I heard was just like if a car peels out. I just heard gravel just churning, and I thought that's a bear. And I didn't even have time to think at all. All I could think of is I hope it's running away and not towards us, because I couldn't see anything. All I heard was this noise, and then I heard splashing, and they kind of gallop. Is what bears do. It's this weird. They don't look that graceful, but it's very scary. And it was taken off the other way, so it was scared by us talking coming around that corner. Took off and went across the river, thankfully, but it was a really big bear. We only saw the behind of it as it ran up into the woods. But that's her king from this one. We caught a couple of those, the biggest. So I don't think it's quite 20 pounds, but it's a big fish. And she beat me like she does every year with the bigger fish than I do, or more fish. That's kind of what she does. Anyway, you can tell the girls are having a really good time. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. We talked about all these things, and I wanted to get, there he is, Rockstar of Science, to some new terms. These are the terms we're going to go over today. I have a cool way I'd like to do that. I'll introduce them to you right now. The first one is the Punnett square. Who remembers what that is? And what that looks like? That's the Punnett square. So simply, it's a tool that we use to determine, what does it say, patterns of heredity. We can figure some things out from the Punnett square. And who made that? Who came up with that system, the Punnett square? Anybody have a guess? Close. He's a rock star of science.
Oh, that one guy.
Gregor
Mendel.
Mendel. Perfect. He's the one that came up with that. Okay, probability. That's a chance of a specific outcome in relation to the total number of possible outcomes. That's a lot like percentages, except a ratio. So it compares the relationship between the two quantities. That's like saying 1 to 2. That's what a ratio is. You have one chance out of 2 to make something happen. A 1 to 2 ratio. You have a 3 to 2 ratio. There's all kinds of things. It's just comparing the two numbers. And then there's the probability. So chance of specific outcome in relation to the total number of possible outcomes. It's like 1 out of 100. And that's what leads us to percentage. You know, we've all done percents, right? 10% chance, 20% chance. Who hears that with weather? All the time. What do they usually say it about? Rain. I always hear about rain. There's a 30% chance of rain. Alright, this is the last thing we're going to talk about. We got into this a little bit, but we have some Latin. Who knows what Latin is? Where does it come from? Oh, call it, phone a friend. Well, English has some Latin roots, so we're getting there. Well, let's see. Do I have a volunteer for this question? Italy. Good job. It's a dead language. We don't speak it anymore, but we use it in science a lot to describe things. Grizzly bears are something horriblest. Ursus horriblest, I think, is one of the. I think polar bears are maritimus, Ursus maritimus, or I'm not 100%, but we use Latin in science a lot, especially when we're naming things. And it also slips into our English language quite a bit. So one way that we see that is this part, the Latin prefix, is homo, meaning the same, and hetero, meaning different. So we see homozygous and homozygous. So we can say homo is the same. Then we have dominant. Why would that be called homozygous dominant? Anybody have a guess? Let's go here. It's dominant trait, yep, and it's the same. So we have why? Well, I like to think about this. So dominant is a capital letter more dominant than a small letter? We'll just say yeah. It's bigger. So if it's dominant, they're both going to be big. If they're homozygous dominant, that means they're both going to be big. If they're homozygous recessive, what does that mean?
They're both small.
Both going to be small. And heterozygous, what does that mean?
Different.
Different. One of each, a mix, exactly. So those are some of our new terms. I have a game I like to play. We're going to have to do a little bit of partnering. It's called Who Has, I Have. Helps us out with the terms a little bit. So I'll pass these out. Let's see. Let's have you guys work as partnership. Partnership. Let's see. You guys work as partner. Let's see. Partners. 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 Actually. Alright. Okay, I have who has works like this. I will start by saying who has, and then I'll have a little definition here. I'll read the definition. Who has various forms of the same gene. And if you know the answer to that and you have that card, you stand up and you yell it really loud. And you say, I have. Does anybody have a guess on that one? You can use your notes. It is. Okay, so you say, I have, and stand up.
I have.
Alleles. All right, with feeling. One more time. Ready?
I have alleles.
Perfect. We're getting there. Okay, so now that you're up, you get to read your different definition and you say, who has? So pay attention, it could be you every time.
Never mind, I thought that was alleles because of alleles.
That's right. Who does have alleles? All right, say it with pride. We're getting there. All right, now you say, who has?
Who has alleles that is
Perfect.
Combines the dominant form of the gene.
Hold on, say it loud, say it loud.
Allele that is not expressed combined with the dominant form of the gene.
Ooh. Look at your definitions and look at your card. Every one of you has, I have one. Especially look at your notes. Alright, allele that is not expressed when combined with the dominant form of the gene. I have recessive over here. A little bit louder.
I have probability.
Yes. All right.
Allele that determines the phenotype of an organism when two different copies are present in the genotype.
Look at your notes, especially the definitions.
I have dominant.
Zoe, that's what we're doing. I like it.
I'm a reporter. Genetic makeup of an organism. Who has genetic makeup of an organism? Not always physically observed.
Ooh.
It's not ours, but it's a genome.
Let's see. Hold on. What was it again?
Genetic makeup of an organism, not always physically observed.
You're on. Say it loud. All right, everybody. This could be you. Swallow. Crackers going across the room. The rock star. Who has it? It is that guy. With pride.
I have greater than
Woo!
Who has compares the relationship between two quantities?
One more time.
Who has compares the relationship between two quantities?
Woo!
Characteristics I color
Phenotype! Observable characteristics. Two large letters would be what?
Punnett square.
Let's think about it. Two large letters.
I
The same and dominant. Alright, go for it.
have a homozygous dominant.
Right. Who has reproduction in which male and female reproductive cells combine to form offspring or genetic material from both cells?
Whichever card is sexual. Stand up.
Are we missing a card?
Well, the real.
Real Slim Shady, please stand up. Please stand up.
I have sexual reproduction! Who? Oh, we already did this one, so who hasn't done it yet? Alright, do your who has.
You have to stand up and say I haven't done it yet, though.
I'm ready. Who has genotype represented by a large and small? Charles like ghosts.
Who has passing of names from parent to office?
I have heredity.
Woo!
You have heredity.
Yes.
Occupies
Thank you.
a specific location on I'm not hungry.
We have genes.
I have homozygous.
Recessive because it's small.
Who has a 2 patterns of heredity? I have Punnett square.
We did your who hasn't gone yet?
I was the first one to go.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't done it yet.
I thought you were going to do it again.
Oh, which part?
Now we should switch cards.
Switch cards and we'll do it faster this time.
Yeah, but we could do it.
Trade cards equally. Just look at it for catch up on our rabbit.
Get another card.
Here, someone's left.
Alright, another minute to trade.
I'm really like, I ripped it out of his hand. I was like,
I think we have to put a situation that everybody has to go as long as they can when they stand up.
yeah!
You have to yell or we're not gonna do this. I'll begin again and I'll make sure I get my part. Alright, that's the rule. You have to stand up and shout this. We gotta call it quits. Yes.
No.
Get it out. We want to know these terms. Alright. Who has various forms of the same gene? It's up here too. Think about it. Various forms of the same gene.
I have alleles.
Woo!
Louder.
Who has allele that is not expressed when combined with a dominant form of the gene?
Alright, say it again until we get it.
Who has allele that is not expressed when combined with the dominant form of the gene? Recessive.
Alright, who has? Really loud.
Who has chance of a specific outcome in relation to the
Say it louder.
I have.
Like you're yelling at someone in the
Like the movie. I have probability.
Alright, louder. One more time. Everybody? Ready? This should be you. Say I do it good.
I have dominance.
Woo!
Not always what?
Physically
I have
Alright, there we go. We got sleep yourself.
Ratio that compares a number to 100.
Percentage.
Who has it?
Whoever traded with us, you better stand
Stand
up.
up.
Stand up, please.
Percentage.
Guys,
Rockstar Rosie.
Oh God.
we have Rachel!
Yes.
Who has compared the relationship between the two quantities? What ratio?
Ratio.
That's what we're looking for.
I have ratio.
Woo!
I don't know how to say it. Still has observable characteristics.
I have type.
No, what do I yell at?
Represented by two words.
What?
One more time.
Represented by two large numbers.
How do you say it?
Homozygous. Dominant, because it's two big letters, right? Alright, who has?
Reproduction of which male and female reproductive cells combine to form offspring with genetic material. You still have yours.
I have sexual reproduction. I don't know why I said that. Alright, thank you. Well, let's start with you guys. You should do two guys.
I'm not represented by a large small letter.
Large and small.
Hey, Taylor,
Two different ones.
No, I'll tell you what I have.
Heterozygous.
Okay. Who has passing genes compared to offspring? A unit of variety that occupies a specific location on a chromosome and codes for Carly, talk louder. On a chromosome and codes Carly, you're Who has genotype represented by two qualities? I have homozygous recessive. Yes. Two use to understand patterns of what? Who has tools used to understand patterns of heredity? We have Pfizer!
Alright, where's it gone yet?
What is Pfizer?
Everybody gone? Got everybody. Okay. Thanks for playing that game.
Yay!
Your terms, those are taken directly from your notes, and there's a few more, and you'll get those today too. Grab your lab, and let's continue working on that. So now that we, and you can pass your cards forward so we don't have to worry about those. Alright, turn your attention to table 1.2. That's just this table here.
She's not a PCP. She wants
I didn't write it. Let me see if I still have. I might have. Okay, we did get through your phenotype. The next column is going to take your knowledge of homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant, and heterozygous. So what is homozygous again? Homozygous recessive look like?
Too large, too small.
Too small. Yep. What about homozygous dominant?
Too
Big.
Too big. What about heterozygous?
Big, small.
Big, small.
Big, small. You got it. That's what you're going to be working on. This it says your possible genotypes. So from your phenotype, for example, a bent pinky would be big B, little b, or two big B's. Yep. Because that, let's see, make sure everybody's got it.
Is it big B, big B? Or big B, little B?
Let's go to PTC case, because that'll be better. Alright. Okay. Yeah, let's go to PTC, that's a better example. Alright, PTC tastes bitter to heterozygous or homozygous dominant. So what's that going to look like in your chart for most of us?
Capital T.
Yep, it's going to be capital T, little t. What's the other possibility?
Capital T, capital.
Yep. So those are the two possible genotypes for that specific one.
Is there a difference?
We just pick one or run both?
Run both. Because it asks you for all the possibilities.
Taylor, there's a difference.
There's only one that would be little t.
Yep. So you're the only little t.
If you have two, well, I know there's a difference, but you understand.
So this one, technically you can put this here, but there's one that you're missing. This is fine. We understand that. But this is big T, little t. And then what would be the other possible genotype? Think about it. Has to be dominant.
It's not staying on track.
The only way it's not is if you have two little t's. Alright, you're going to have to look in each section and each one.
Go back and look at that.
Okay. Not a problem.
Tells you what letter it is.
This one
And it tells you which one is dominant.
says it's bitter as heterozygous or homozygous dominant. So you have two possibilities.
Go back and look at that.
I'm going to say yeah. It is dominant. Yeah. Oh, dominant. Yeah. Then he is
So which one is recessive?
Yeah, so I can use it's supposed to be that's what that sentence says.
Oh, no.
Go back. You good?
Let's do it. Okay.
It's obviously both.
Alright, so the first one.
You know how to taste her. It tells you. It tells the letter. For B, right? For that, you're going to use
Yeah.
B. For dominant or segment, then vice versa. Bend in.
Only 8 people have been through. Two after we're all gonna live. So it says that these people who cannot are not alone.
So you can. We have a team. Combine your PTC and your. You can move that. Mine's
Oh, really? You're helping us take it.
You have blue eyes.
Yeah, it
I even met him last night. Even if he tried to get him in that, you think that person likes what you're doing. Blood chalks.
So this one's gonna be.
Well, for you.
If the recessive is just one, if it's dominant,
Tip over.
Okay, let's go ahead and work on some of the other tables. I have a picture of the other, what we had tabulated the other day. There we go. I'll start writing them on the board, but I'm going to use the both in a minute. Okay, last time we had 8 pinkies.
You can erase that.
Yeah, I said that
Okay. We had 8 bent pinkies. So what does that mean? We had 8 folks who had a bent pinky. And so we need to write that number in class. And remember to cross out the parent phenotype. Or, yeah, phenotype.
Find out. I'll do that. Let's go. It never goes together.
We had 8 bent pinkies last time.
I didn't know I was, but I didn't know if people like didn't touch their keyboard.
But I gotta push it. Over there. I can't let it go.
Oh, if you just okay, I get what you're saying now. My head.
You just naturally when you do like this.
Like you're just barely touching them. Yeah.
Push it over.
I guess I was saying too.
Alright, this is what I have so far. So we can go, we were down to the tongue rolling. Alright, widow's peaks. Who is a widow's peak? 1, 2, 3, 7, 8.
Just kidding.
Yeah, blue eyes is 7.
She has blue eyes and she wasn't here yesterday.
Okay, let's add. What about Pinky? Any difference on Pinky?
No.
How about Digit Hair?
Oh, blue eyes.
Alright, no additions to that? Alright, how about Tongue?
She can do it.
Add on to that. Alright, okay, widows. Next one, what's the next one?
Widows.
We already did that.
Alright, who does it? Who has it?
What do you mean?
I think it's left over right. Let's read that. Alright, so thumb says inner. Okay, so when you relax and you put your, I do, left thumb over your right, indicates the dominant allele is present in either heterozygous or homozygous individuals. Homozygous recessives naturally place the right thumb over the left. So I'm assuming who puts their left thumb over their right? Looks like most of you are dominant for the trait. How many is that? Keep them high so we can get the count.
How about you just count people that don't have that?
We could. Who doesn't have it? Subtract it. You're official counter now. So out of how many students?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is for recessive. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Only recessives raise your hand.
6. Raise them high. 6.
You can't count very well.
1, 7. There's 7. There's 8. 7, 8.
7 out of how many people?
8 out of 23. 8.
Out of 23. So what's our? Well, yeah. Okay. Wait. We have 20. How many people?
23. Well, actually, 24.
So we have 21 people that are dominant for that trait. Is that right?
No.
Out of 20. Okay, let's do it again.
24 minus.
No, just raise your hand.
24 minus 8.
24 minus 8 is 20.
16.
No, just 16. Everyone said 23.
We can do math today. Alright, let's continue. What do we got next? So earlobes. For your pendulum. Homozygous recessives have attached earlobes. So we're going to go with those who have the dominant one. So if you have detached, that's dominant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you can count.
Put your hands up high.
Put your hands up high in the chat.
Oh my goodness, I can't.
Now you know how frustrating it is for your teacher.
8, 9, 10.
Yeah, just make you were the president.
50.
15 is our count.
No.
Alright, one more.
What should I do?
Homozygous recessives. So what would that look like if it was in a Punnett square? Homozygous recessive.
Little
Judge, pick one.
Both what? Little ones? Everybody agree? What's homozygous recessive look like? Little. Both little. let's count the dominant again. Who doesn't have the hitchhiker's thumb? Let's count that.
Who doesn't? Okay, good. I don't know. Listen, you do have to.
We're gonna go with now that we have all of that, you're ready to fill out your last column. Takes a little bit of math to do it, simple math. Now we have 20, how many students again? 24 today.
Wait. Yeah.
Does anybody feel brave and feel like they can show us how to do that? How to get
Cam, I'm in too.
tomorrow's the game.
Okay. I want to play.
Who knows how to do this math? Who knows how to calculate the percentage?
I do.
Alright, let's go. Let's handle your question. Yeah, I think there was some. Oh, there's two. I added somebody. So yeah, you're right.
Mine was like.
Okay. We fixed that. Anybody really strong in math wants to show us how to do the percent?
Ryle.
Ryle, you were nominated. Okay, so we gotta find the percentage
Oh, and you want to use your fingers.
with the tray. Do it on the board thing? Sure. We'll do it over here. What? And do you calculate? So everybody watch and then fill out this last column. Well, so for Pinky, we have 8 folks that have it. So we need a percent of the class with the trade. We have 24 students. This is for the teams. Alright. Ral's got it. So what do you do in order to get the percents at the very end of the column?
Take the number that it is divided by the number that it is.
Correct. Number that have it divided by the total there in the class, and you'll get the percents. So go ahead and bust that out. If you need some help, let me know. I'll be walking around. So that will be taking about 30%. This one's gonna be different. We're all different. You gotta use these numbers. You gotta do the 10. You guys do that? Okay. Go ahead and get that. I'll be. Get a calculator helps. I have an extra calculator. Yeah, I need one. Yes.
You're dividing that. Percentage is equal to 5.
Don't look at the board. Don't look at the board.
Yeah, it's.
Thanks, Rob, for showing us.
Do it. Wow, go fix it. It's 33%. 33%. It's 33.
So what is that?
Blue.
33%.
Okay. Blue. I got 20. You do 5.
No,
Because that still would make them go ahead and tell Abby. I still need to keep it in town. I would do Are you serious? It's Tristan, Aaron. It's Trey. That's right. It's all 7. It's going to
yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? Sam lives on French.
Not 30.
Yeah, you can have it. Okay, whether or not you're done, let's go over quickly together the questions. Alright, first question. Is it true that dominant phenotypes are always the most common in a population?
No.
And just explain your answer. Why is that true? So we're saying no. What evidence do you have for that? You said no. Do you have anything here? Okay, bent pinky is dominant, but it's only 33% of the classroom. So what are some possible reasons? Does anybody have a possible reason for that? So we have a dominant gene here, bent pinky is dominant, but only 33% of the class, so a third has it. It's a dominant in the gene pool. One explanation for that is sometimes it's really rare in the gene pool. Dwarfism is a dominant gene, but most of us do not have the dwarfism gene. It's just a small percentage of the population. So it's true that it's dominant, but they're not always the most common, is the answer for that guy. So that should, you guys can write an answer for that. It doesn't have to be real long. I put no, and sometimes it's just rare. The next question, if you think about this next question, we got 2 bears on Kodiak Island just kind of roaming around, male and female. What determines how often a phenotype occurs in a population? Don't overthink this one. On the square, exactly, the combinations that happen. So what are we working with originally on the square? dominant recessive genes from a mom and dad, from the bears. So really, what determines how often phenotype occurs in population is just what genes you carry, what you inherit. That's question 2 is just, that's what determines is the genes, the Punnett square that we see, the combinations that happen. And there's a lot of different reasons for combinations. Sometimes there's bears who get isolated from other bears from a huge mountain range comes up, and they're going to be different than bears that are on the other side of that mountain range because they never interact, they never have babies. So all kinds of things that affect that. All right, last question. Is it possible to determine the genotype of a person showing a dominant phenotype? So just from the outside, can you tell what somebody's genotype is? And why is that? What possibilities could it be? It's inside them, that's right. Can't always tell. A genotype isn't always a physical characteristic. So that, I just put no. It's not possible, it's inside you. The last part of that is it's asking, is it possible to determine the genotype of a person showing a recessive phenotype? If we know it's recessive and they have it, is it possible for us to tell what their genotype is? Think about Taylor, you got it? Oh, Katie. All right, Nick, what? So can we tell a genotype from someone that has a recessive phenotype? If we know it's recessive, can we figure out their genotype?
You can, if you like your eyes, if you have blue eyes, you can see it.
If you have blue eyes, you can see it, and you know it's recessive. So what is homozygous recessive going to look like?
Blue eyes, not that.
As far as the letters, what are they going to be like?
Small.
Lowercase, and both of them, and we can know that because it's recessive. And there's only one way for homozygous recessive to show itself: blue eyes, so they both be little. The letters would be little, be like little b, little b. So can we tell the genotype of a person who has dominant phenotype?
No.
But we can with what? Recessive phenotype. Great. Y'all have been wonderful. I think we're about time. Tomorrow you'll have Miss Oy. And have a great rest of the week. These papers are yours. Help you study. Yep. Keep your papers there. Yours to study.
Name tags. Can somebody put name tags up, please?